Welcome back to the Real Estate Rat Pack Radio Show with Chris, Joe, and Rob. The crew is taking your calls, so dial in at 1-800-808-5548.
And we are back. You know, that was a very interesting 2 segments we had just then. A lot of phone calls came in, a lot of interest in improving your home.
Well, you know, I think a lot of people like to have some low-cost things to make their home more attractive to them. I think it's very, very good. And there's probably a lot of other products out there kind of like that.
Right.
You can do something to enhance your home.
You know, and I think that's a great opportunity to do a shout-out to everybody out there. You know, if you're listening to the show and you know of a good product or service that you think needs to be promoted, that can enhance value in the real estate market, let us know. Look us up on Facebook. Give one of us a call. Give a shout-out, etc. We love to have guests on to talk about new areas, new opportunities, and new features that you can put out there.
This is the HGTV of Christian radio.
That is correct. HGTV of Christian radio. I like that, Rob. Very good.
No tagline, but I always
we can rip them off. Why not?
Yeah, why not? Hey, we got ripped off last week, so what the heck? But there are a lot of low-cost things that you can do. And
there really are.
They do, you know, you go to Home Depot or any of those type of places, they always have those little seminars about products that you can do yourself, and they're, you know, afternoon, weekend type projects.
Yep.
So.
You know, and like I said, the simplest of things, such as putting a frame around installed mirrors that are usually going to be, you know, dull and offer not a lot of value right there. You can really put something that looks different, really enhances the look and feel of your property, really increases what that property looks like. And you can take the simplest of homes and make them look like a custom detail.
You know, we need to get, wallpapers making a comeback.
Yes.
And there are some very cool wallpapers that look like faux paints and different things like that. We ought to find somebody that does great. So if there's anyone out there who does great wallpaper and like to come on.
Yes. Look us up.
So we're going to talk about credit, huh?
We are going to talk about credit. Why not?
Why not?
You know, actually, I got a couple big news things for Improve My Credit USA that we are just beyond excited about, and it's really cool. At the end of last year, there's a company here in Texas that runs a consumer-driven, vote-oriented thing around different businesses, all business actually. In
What's the
Texas.
name of that group?
Tops in America, and they do statewide voting and all this sort of thing for different industries. And the Tops in Texas award we've won for the last 4 years in a row for the consumer-voted #1 credit repair company in the industry. But for the first time, we have received, we just got it a couple of weeks ago, actually, I'm trying to think now, last week, Thursday, we received the award for being the consumer-voted #1 credit repair company in America. And
Yahoo!
Now, there's something worth howling about. And your company's growing. In fact, you've had to add on to your team, and you have part of your team here today.
Yes.
What a segue was that?
Yes, you were almost like a professional there.
Almost like a professional.
Very good. Yeah, those classes are helping.
You know, somebody as pretty as Jennifer comes on, we really should be on TV.
Exactly. You know, we have been growing, and again, part of the thing I love about being in business is getting to build a team and provide jobs, and we have a little family at our company. And
introduce your new family.
So our newest member, starting officially on Monday, going to be in business development.
And she's already been rat-packed.
And she's been rat-packed, yes. I want her to come down and meet you guys, and that way if she still shows up on work on Monday, I know I've got a strong player.
This is like the gauntlet, right?
Yes, it's exactly. It's the gauntlet. You know, she went through the tough interview process. This is kind of like the final stage.
Cool.
So, yeah. Jennifer Aguirre, say hello to everybody.
Hello, everyone.
So we're excited to have you on the team. I wanted to have you down in the studio. Totally did not anticipate being on the show because I didn't tell her.
That's part of the surprise that awaits on Monday.
We like to work.
Look at all the other things.
Yeah. So anyway.
So tell me, Jennifer, what's your function with IMC?
I'm going to be helping Joe out with the marketing aspect. So I will find out more in detail Monday.
Oh, so you haven't explained this yet, huh?
Yeah, no. You know, it's a very fun job for for those who like to meet people.
Have you told her all the typical things that mortgage guys do when somebody comes off the street to market to you? I'm just joking.
Right. That part I didn't explain. So
You'll learn
I just
the hard
told her
way.
about our fun networking events. So don't give her too much on that. No, she's gonna be out doing a lot of what I do, which is to meet realtors and mortgage folks and talking to builders and that type of thing, and introducing Improve My Credit USA to those folks.
Outstanding.
So-
Well, you've been looking for someone for a while,
I have.
so it looks like you made a really good choice. So let's talk about credit.
Yes.
So what are some of the new things that are occurring in credit that we're seeing? And maybe Chris, you can chime in on this too, because you're seeing it now. We've got CFPB in place, and they're going to be really looking at credit scores and back ratios and things like that. So what are we seeing on the horizon?
Yeah, I think lending is not getting any easier. I don't think we're.
What book are you reading?
I don't think the requirements are loosening up by any means, and I think Chris can attest to that side.
Oh, yeah.
The new QM qualified mortgage stuff that's coming down, and I definitely don't claim to be a mortgage expert by any means, but good folks like Chris keep me informed on what's going on that front. And the credit requirements are staying pretty similar. I mean, there's not a lot of changes going on there. But, we have to be aware of, and one thing that we do focus on as a company that works with literally hundreds upon hundreds of mortgage individuals around town, we try to be very aware of the things beyond credit that they're needing to be aware of. And where that comes in, for instance, is things like credit card debt. A loan officer is going to look at things like debt-to-income ratios and that type of thing. So on our side, how that impacts what we're doing is trying to educate the consumer. When they come through with us, it's not just dealing with, here's your old negative stuff that we're working on. It's, hey, you've got a credit card and your balance is currently at 87%. What's the plan? We got to have a plan to get that down below 30%, because therein in that range is a big impact on your credit. But not just on your credit, on how the lender looks at you as a potential buyer, the debt-to-income ratio.
Let me ask you a question. This kind of popped in my head, and I know this happens a lot where, you've got a grown child and they're trying to establish themselves in the world, and they come to mom and dad and say, you know what, I'd like you to co-sign a car for me. And they think,
Yes.
It's not my debt. I'm just co-signing it for my son, my daughter.
Oh, God, yes.
And so kind of talk about that a little bit, because I think people get really shocked. It's like, I can't buy a house because I co-signed for my child.
The child is the only scenario where I would say do that, and with great caution. That's the only scenario when it's your child. That's how cautious I am about this. The more typical one where this comes up and you just shake your head is, yeah, my cousin from my aunt, third generation removed, needed me to co-sign on a car, and they haven't made a payment on it yet, and blah, 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 and I just need to get removed from that. What do I do?
Yeah.
And you're like,
Equally and severally liable.
Yes.
Well, and one of the things, speaking on Joe, because that's probably one of the typical things, is I co-sign for a brother or a sister or a sister-in-law or a
Yes.
cousin or whoever might be out there, and then the next thing I say, but that's that $1,000 monthly debt is not mine.
Yes.
That car is really not mine.
Yes.
So the next question I ask is, well, who's paying for it? Well, my cousin is. Well, can you prove it? Well, not really. I mean, he pays it sometimes in cash and sometimes he just doesn't feel like paying it, right?
Yeah.
And so you also have to be very prudent when you're going forward and doing things like this, is you have to make sure that, number one, you're doing it for the right people. And I agree with you. I think family member is number one, like a child, right?
A child.
But
And
if
I
you're going to
cut
do
it
it,
there.
and I understand there's a
That's it.
lot of people who have very close relationships with, cousins and aunts and uncles, etc.
No.
Make sure, though, you document. The problem is that people don't document
Just say
payments,
no,
for
Chris.
example. So just say no, right?
Just say no.
No,
I'm telling you, there's no situation where this turns out good. At
Right.
best,
Yeah.
nothing bad happens.
Right.
Chris,
That- I mean,
let me
that's-
ask you this. I co-signed for somebody, and I've got proof of, say, 2 years.
I thought I took you off that credit.
Yeah. You've got maybe 1 to 2 years of history of good pay. When you're looking at that credit, or when you're getting that credit, how does mortgage companies look at that?
Remember, pay history and the how it counts to your debt to income ratio are two different things. You can have co-signed for somebody, and that pay history is absolutely excellent. But if you're trying to qualify for something new and I'm having to count it against your debt-to-income ratio, that's really where the issue comes in. So it's not really of how it's impacting your credit from a credit score perspective. It's how it's impacting your debt-to-income ratio from the ability to repay or the ability to qualify.
Well, let's kind of take that a step further, and which is some people are, moving out of their current house, but they're going to hang on to it because they're going to lease it because it's a great rental market. And they're going to buy a new house, but they've got a brand new tenant in there. Talk about how you look at that when you've got like 1 month
that's
credit.
a little bit different. That's called
it's different.
the
I'm asking the
exiting
question
property,
I know the
right?
answer to,
What you're doing right there is you're actually having an exiting property. So anytime that you are trying to qualify by keeping your existing home, and it's called you're qualifying keeping your existing property, if you're going to use it as a lease, the only way to count any income against that lease, against the exiting property, is if, number one, you've got 25 to 30% equity into the property. You can show that you've at least collected a deposit check and 1 month's rent, okay? And that you obviously can qualify in regards to reserves. That you have enough reserves to pay for your new home plus the existing home that you're going to be leaving right there. But if you don't have enough equity and you don't have it leased out, then most of the time, and most lenders are going to be out there, are going to be telling you have to qualify with the full payment against you. And so it's not as easy as just saying, oh, I've got this home I bought 2 years ago, and I bought it for $200,000. It's still worth $200,000, so it's good, but I'm going to lease it out today. Guess what? You would have to count that entire payment against you. And so, you want to be very cognizant and careful when you're going through those type of qualifications because that can really hurt somebody.
Yeah. There's 2 points I wanted that are, I think, are crucial here in mentioning. One, just to reiterate the point, when it comes to co-signing on a debt, for anyone other than your child, say no. Period. I'm telling you. I see people, I can't tell you how many times that it's destroyed relationships, killed family relationships, caused massive strife because there's just too many variables that can go wrong in that process.
Like the 6 cents I see credit people.
Exactly. Just say no. People don't realize how much it impacts you. Where even if the person's paying good, as Chris mentioned, that's debt that is included in your ratio. It's not like it's just off something they're doing off over there by themselves. It's part of your world until it's done. And the average car note's going to run you these days 4 to 6 years.
6 years, yeah.
So it's an anchor around your neck for 4 to 6 years. Forget it. Do not do it. That's just it.
And most of the time they can't refinance out of it either because that's why they needed a cosigner.
Exactly. Which is the next point I wanted to touch on.
Yeah, I'm going to say this is your brain, and this is your brain on debt.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
It's just such a massive burden. And the other thing I wanted to touch on is this. And this is kind of a different angle, and we got 1 minute left here, but I wanted to cover this, is dealing with divorce. Right?
Oh, yes.
This is something that comes up. I cannot tell you how often. It is a repeated subject. I get calls from mortgage people. I get calls from the buyers. When they've gone through a divorce, the spouse got the house, and the first thing they say, well, they got that debt in the divorce. That shouldn't be on my credit. I'm sorry. That's not the way it works. It's just not the way it works, and we can talk more about that when we come back.
I definitely want to talk more about that because that's a subject matter that is very important to understand. In fact, we did a show one time, and I would venture to say about 80% of the individuals out there, when they go through a divorce, financially speaking, handle it wrong.
Yes.
They don't correctly put the assets in the name or the way they need to be separated correctly, and it ends up affecting them in a big, big way moving forward. Not only credit-wise, but qualification for credit in the future as far as mortgage, et cetera, et cetera.
Let's talk more about that when we come back from the break. After this, a word from our sponsors.